Good morning and welcome to World News here on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. A man who killed 5 people, including a child, and injured more than 200 has been arrested by police. On Friday evening, he drove a car that ploughed into a crowd at a Christmas market in the German city of Magdeburg. It turned out after the attack that it was carried out by a Saudi national. Polish Prime Minister Tusk urged his political opponents to support his restrictive migration policy.
The 50-year-old perpetrator is reportedly a Saudi doctor who has lived in Germany since 2006. Back in 2016, he filed for asylum in the country as he felt threatened by Saudi Arabia and Islam. In Germany, he worked as a psychiatrist and recently became radicalized. German newspaper Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung suggested the perpetrator had a radical anti-Islamic stance, but German politicians cautioned against jumping to conclusions.
We have to understand the perpetrator, his actions and his motives in order to be able to respond with criminal and, if necessary, other consequences.
The attack prompted a response from Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who used the situation to remind his political opponents in the country of his migration scheme.
After the attack in Magdeburg, I expect a clear statement from President Duda and the Law and Justice Party today on their support for the government's package to tighten visa and asylum laws. The state is regaining control over borders and migration after years of chaos and corruption, so at least do not interfere.
The most widely commented point of Tusk's policy was the temporary suspension of the right to asylum for migrants, which many human rights organizations protested against. But what Tusk has proposed is seen by some experts as an attempt to salvage the wobbling Schengen zone, as well as a call for a unified migration policy that would encompass the whole of Europe.
In order to keep it alive, I think we should change something, because we should have a common agreement between countries in order to have the policy that allows for more control on the outside borders and in fact to control the inflows of migrants on the borders.
Polish opposition MP Witold Tumanowicz from the far-right Confederation Party has lambasted Angela Merkel for her open-door policy, which he says brought about the tragedy.
It has almost become a tradition, a bloody tradition, that there are all sorts of attacks during Christmas markets in the West.
In 2016, Germany's capital Berlin also saw a Christmas market attack, which killed 12 people. The Friday events have raised questions over the feeling of safety among people in other parts of Europe. But at a Christmas market in Warsaw, people don't feel threatened in any way.
This morning, it didn't scare us enough not to come and enjoy at least a little bit of this Christmas atmosphere. I have seen that today there are police standing in front of the entrance of the Christmas market. Also, I think it will help.
The Christmas market attack in Magdeburg has sent shockwaves across the world. Billionaire and Donald Trump's staunch supporter Elon Musk took to X to call Scholz an incompetent fool. While the motives of the perpetrator of the attack in Magdeburg remain unclear, German outlet Der Spiegel reported that the Saudi national was a sympathizer of the far-right group AfD, which Musk had endorsed.
The traditional political parties in Germany have utterly failed the people. AfD is the only hope for Germany.
But experts say the problem is that different parts of Europe are facing different challenges.
The Southern Europe experienced a huge immigration from Northern Africa. In Germany, we have many immigrants that are not very well integrated in the society. The same probably in France. And in Poland, we have migration from Ukraine, immigration from Belarus.
The terrorist attack in Magdeburg has fueled the growing anti-migration sentiment across Europe. But as many experts believe, the tragic events will largely set the tone for the political campaign leading up to the snap federal election scheduled for late February.
Staying on the topic of the Magdeburg Christmas market attack, while social media accounts of the detained perpetrator, a Saudi national, reveal Islamic views, the motivation behind his actions remains unclear. The head of the Magdeburg prosecutor's office has pointed to other potential motives, while other German officials confirm that the investigation is still ongoing.
At this stage, the only thing we can say with certainty is that the perpetrator was clearly Islamophobic. We can already confirm that. Everything else is subject to further investigations.
And as things stand at the moment, we assume that the perpetrator is a lone offender. The information we now have on the status of the investigation rules out the possibility of a second perpetrator. There is precisely the question of the perpetrator's motivation, and we are currently in the process of clarifying that. What I consider possible does not play a role, but what plays a role is what I will determine as a result. But I can't tell you that at the moment. What I can say about the perpetrator's motivation is that, as things stand at the moment, it appears that the background to the crime may have been, how should I put this, dissatisfaction with the treatment of Saudi Arabian refugees in Germany. But what lies deeper behind this is the subject of the investigation. Please bear with me. We still have to shed light on the perpetrator's environment. In the short time available, we have not yet been able to present anything with the necessary depth.
He may be the first, but most likely not the last. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has doubled down on granting political asylum to politicians suspected of committing crimes in the EU. Orban's comment comes amid an unprecedented diplomatic dispute between Warsaw and Budapest.
It's another day and another provocative comment by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban.
Without revealing too much, I can tell you that the political asylum for Marcin Romanowski is not the last one of its kind.
Orban's Polish counterpart Donald Tusk was not amused by the Hungarian leader's words on Saturday.
Prime Minister Orban does not like reckonings. He told me this directly when explaining the decision on asylum. Politics is simpler than some people think.
Poland's former Deputy Justice Minister Marcin Romanowski has turned up in Hungary after being accused by the state prosecution of embezzling more than 51 million euros of public funds. Politicians from Poland's ruling coalition are outraged by Hungary sheltering a fugitive suspect.
This situation is unprecedented. That's why the Polish Foreign Ministry decided to summon the Hungarian ambassador for an explanation and recall the Polish ambassador from Budapest for consultations.
But no one is really surprised by Viktor Orban going against the current in the EU.
Let's keep in mind that Viktor Orban is a man who spoke with Vladimir Putin just a few days ago. His policies are de facto in line with Putin's policies.
Earlier this week, Hungary blocked EU sanctions on Georgian pro-Russian officials who were involved in brutal police crackdowns on protesters. According to one expert, such moves only add to Budapest's black sheep reputation in the bloc.
There's a personal animosity between Viktor Orban and the European Commission. We know that the European Commission and many top European diplomats have been boycotting the Hungarian EU presidency over the past half a year.
And now Poland will be taking over the rotating presidency in the Council of the European Union, starting in January 2025. Following 6 months of Hungarian leadership, there are high expectations in the EU that Warsaw will breathe new life into the works of the Council.
Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico may soon head to Moscow for gas talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The visit is yet to be confirmed. However, opposition leaders question the need to involve Russia in Slovakia's gas transit issues. During a radio interview, Serbian President Alexander Vučić revealed that Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico might travel to Moscow on Monday to negotiate with Vladimir Putin over gas transit. The visit comes at a time when Ukraine is planning to halt Russian gas transit through its territory by January 2025. While the trip has not been confirmed by the head of the government, Slovakian opposition leader Milan Šimečka criticized Fico, urging him to address the issue directly with Ukraine instead of Russia. Fico has previously announced plans to visit Russia in May for its World War I victory commemorations. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said Kyiv will continue its strikes on Russian military targets. These comments follow another wave of Russian missile strikes on Kyiv, Kharkiv, Nikopol and the Donetsk regions.
There have also been Russian strikes in Kharkiv, in Nikopol, in the Donetsk region. This is just terror that Russia is deliberately committing and for which these non-humans from the Russian Air Force are also being rewarded. But they will definitely be held accountable. The time will come. And we will definitely continue to strike at Russian military targets with drones and missiles, increasingly with Ukrainian-made ones, at the very military bases, at the very Russian military infrastructure that is used in such terror against our people. Our defense is absolutely fair. I am grateful to everyone in the world who supports Ukraine in this, and in particular supports the need to increase spending on the defense of European countries, on the renewal and modernization of arsenals in Europe. And I thank everyone who ensures that the pressure on Russia for the war is increased.
According to a report in the Financial Times, Donald Trump may want EU countries to raise the current bar of 2% of GDP for NATO defence spending to as much as 5%. While this has not been confirmed by Trump's press secretary, Professor Alberto Coll of DePaul University College of Law told TVP World that Trump will definitely try to get some NATO allies to increase their military spending.
I think in his own mind, he knows it'll be quite a lift to get Europeans to spend up to 3 to 4%. But the reality is that Trump on this issue has a very good point. You know, that there are European countries, obviously not Poland, obviously not Estonia, not Greece, which spend a very serious amount of their GDP on defense. But there are many European countries, including, by the way, even today, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, which spend very inappropriately low percentages of their GDP on their military. And the United States is saying, look, if you want to have a serious alliance, European countries have to put more money on the table. And I think that this argument, by the way, has gained currency in many European capitals, because many European leaders have realized that the United States is not going to be tied to Europe indefinitely unless the United States leadership feels that Europe is pulling its own weight.
Donald Trump has named the producer of his reality TV show, The Apprentice, as a special envoy to the UK. The US President-elect posted on Truth Social that Mark Burnett would bring a blend of diplomatic acumen and international recognition to the role. The 64-year-old has also worked on or created the Shark Tank and Survivor television shows. Trump had previously named the businessman Warren Stevens as his pick for the role of US ambassador to the UK. And that brings us to the end of this news bulletin, but stay tuned, lots more coming up. Goodbye for now.